and welcome to episode 86 of Prose. This week, scratch an insatiable itch and muse on the importance of brownies to your survival. Well, dear listeners, the studio is coming along here in the new Prose home base, but I am betting you will still hear some differences. I'd like to take a moment to thank you all once again for your patience, your advice, and your general support throughout this process. It means a lot. Hopefully, we'll continue to hear the show get back to normal moving forward. Please go follow the show on social media under @ProsePodcast across platforms. Even more amazing would be if you could head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and a review for Prose. Ratings and reviews really do help, and people start noticing if you put them in, so that'd be great. For easiest access to the show, subscribe using Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or whatever podcast catcher is your favorite. Lastly, check out the Prose Patreon page at patreon.com/ProsePodcast and consider supporting the show there. Not only will I be eternally grateful, you'll get some cool swag out of the deal. Thanks for listening. Let's get to the tale, shall we? This week, we have Under My Skin and the Brownie Children. Enjoy. Under My Skin, an original short story by Jared I. McGee. Rhonda, I know in the writing of this it means that I have already admitted defeat, if not aloud and to the world, then to myself and indeed to you. I must apologize for leaving off of my writing you for, well, some time now. Excuses would come easily here at the end, but my own apathy born of my current situation is most to blame. My apologies are sincere. My reasons for failing you, impotent. And now, my time runs short. As you know, the apartment in Seoul was a major transition from my sprawling homes for my past few postings. The particle research of my youth and the generous stipends, grants, and living spawned of them somehow evolved, or, in my own reading of the changes, devolved into my urban hell that I find myself in as I scratch away at this inexpensive mass-produced stationery. Isn't it sad that letter writing itself has devolved into a quirk, a gas of the bored or pretentious? Once upon a yesteryear, penmanship was a high art. The elite of the world bled their fortunes to acquire the most exotic sheafs, the best stock envelopes, the thickest and shiniest waxes to be sealed with. What a tragedy. This deletion of a more deliberate means of communicating. The world has grown too fast-paced to calmly mirror one's heart onto pulped pine. But I digress. My goodbye. The apartment is a step down from the lifestyle I normally afford myself. Don't get me wrong, Rhonda. It is fancy. My own family and friends back home would think me a movie star if they saw the shining granite and stonework that frames the little place. Not to mention the proximity to such things as they have only seen in films, or in the comfort of their living rooms from their small television sets. As you already know, the actual move-in was relatively easy. Making those shifts is never fun, but moving does often provide an electricity given rise by the infinite avenues of possibility that await in a new place. The new yous you can be should you choose to make good on all those changes you've been building up in your heart and head. Wow. I'm getting to the point after moving so many times and advancing in years that I don't have the wherewithal to become those new people, though. It is exhausting. All of the subsequent details of the shift are honestly neither here nor there. You have heard all of this from me ad nauseum at this point, you know. How's the new job? Same as the old. New faces, but more of the exact same day-to-day doings. How's the new place? Very nice. Too small, but a wonderful little flat. How's the new city? All cities are the same anymore, aren't they? One can eat, one can drink. One can pretend that the things to do are somehow different or more eclectic or more interesting in some way. But at the end of the day, the people of Paris, of London, of New York, of Sydney, of Mumbai, of Johannesburg, of Seoul, we are all just trying to fill a hole to distract us from our daily decay into oblivion. But again, how often have you heard that cynicism from my lips or from my pen? My doom seems to have me being more introspective, more thoughtful, and yet I find myself regurgitating my own tired musings for the millionth time rather than leaving you with some thought worthy of an end of consciousness. It was the apartment that did me in, not the nightlife. At first, I thought the strange tingling in the back of my head a headache or some impending cold. Rather quickly, I realized that my skin was mirroring the crawling in the back of my head. A slight tingle turned into a strange itch. The itch began to morph into a burn. The tingle-itch burn very rapidly shifted into crawling. Then, I could see the movement I thought that I had felt actually meandering under my skin. Little lines of squirming, slithering somethings, wriggling and dancing in time to the tingle-itch burn matched by a throbbing behind my eyes the likes of which I had never experienced. To call it a headache would be to give the pain a major disservice. It only took 2 weeks for the tingle-itch burn to take over my every thought. At work, as I walked the streets, over dinner, during dates, while trying to sleep. The pain and discomfort utterly consumed me. Doctors told me there was nothing there. Colleagues told me they could see nothing in or on my skin. It continued to writhe in me all the same. I became it, and it alone. So you see, Rhonda, I had to do this. I know that you'll be receiving this well after the news comes your way. Hell, it might even arrive after you've buried me, if things have gone poorly. The plan as it stands is for me to start with my feet. I've bought several surgical-grade scalpels and some numbing medications that, according to the web, will numb the immediate area without affecting my brain's functionality too quickly or too heavily. I've read of people doing surgery on themselves, and I am hoping that these tales aren't just fluff told and retold speaking into truth. From my feet, I'll do my other extremities, moving up to my knees and working my way up. Peeling my own skin back doesn't sound so appealing, that's for sure. But I fear that I can no longer live like this. I love you dearly and hope you can forgive the extreme nature of my actions. I know that we have not been as close as we once were these past few years. Distance and time get the better of us all, do they not? Just know that the thoughts of you have lessened my sufferings these last weeks. I did love you, Rhonda. I do love you. I must admit that I did not reach out to my family, so if you could let them know how things came to be, please do so. I know that is asking too much of you, but I fear I have no one else to ask. Distance and time have dismantled more than just our relationship. Again, thank you for everything. For being you, for being mine for a time, for allowing me to be yours, for your vast intelligence, for your kind eyes, for everything. Really, Rhonda. Well, now I'm just prattling and procrastinating. May you smile always, even through the pain, my dear. I am off to my next adventure. Sincerely yours, Justin Kenton. Thank you for listening to Under My Skin, an original short story by me, Jared I. McGee. All sounds you hear come from YouTube's free audio library. The tracks are being used under CC 01.0 public domain dedication licenses. Next up, stick around for some flash fiction horror. Oh, and brownies. The Brownie Children, an original short story by Jared I. McGee.
Dear God, Gerald, how did we let the time get away from us? It's not like we were having that much fun.
I don't know, but losing our cool will only cause us more problems, Rita. Let's just go fast, stay focused, and analyze this mess later.
I know too, Gerald, but what if we don't make it?
The silence that followed was not what Rita had been hoping for from her husband. For as long as she had known Gerald, he had been her protector. His 6'7" frame, thick arms, and booming voice had made her feel like she had her own Lancelot from their very first meeting. Not that she needed a knight to come save her. She was no misogynistically created maiden in need of saving. Still, she couldn't help but feel a bit more at ease, a bit more confident, not to mention that it turned her on. In his youth, Gerald had been quite the alpha male in all the best ways, avoiding the virulence and toxicity that a great many alpha types lean into. Seeing him try to be calm and try to ensure her that everything would be okay while his brow was drenched with sweat and his jaw was clenched to the point she thought his teeth would crack, it put her on edge. His confidence was counterfeit, and she knew it. They were going at least 85 on the 45-mile-per-hour rural highway to their home. Dangerously unsafe for this area. Between the curves and bends, deer and other fauna, loose gravel and patches of cracked asphalt, driving this recklessly was unacceptable on most days. But when occasion warrants. And this occasion certainly warranted.
It's 8:45. We're never gonna make it.
Through his gritted teeth, Gerald growl pleaded. I am trying, Rita. If we go off the road, we're definitely not going to make it. Relax and let me concentrate.
We've got to get home before the Brownie children arrive, Gerald. We've already rolled the dice by buying store-bought instead of baking them fresh. You know the warm ones keep them at bay for longer. They please them more.
I know, sweetheart, I know, but there's not much we can do at this point. I'll do my damnedest to get us there. Their discussion stopped there. Rita soaked in the silence, trying not to let her mind wander to what would happen if they really didn't make the 9 p.m. calling. Of course, they had never not made the calling. They had only ever heard of what happened to those that did not meet the tribute at the required time. Those little ones could do more damage to a body than she had ever thought possible.
Seeing the, albeit partially censored, videos and photos of those that missed the calling was horrifying, and it certainly made one want to be on target for the hard time at which the little ones spanned out across the town. The Brownie children, as they had been dubbed early on, did not accept anything but variations on that baked treat. Cookies, cakes, pies, cobblers. None of those would do the trick. Many a slaughter scene had other sundry baked goods slapped and slathered around the pieces of bodies. Brownies, not blondies, was a popular t-shirt around town. Humor didn't precisely diffuse the horror of the situation, but being able to at least grin through the terror was something. Rita's frenetic thoughts came back to the present with the crunch of gravel and the complaints of the brakes as Gerald brought the car to an abrupt stop.
"Go, Rita, go!"
Gerald shouted, both of them rolling out of the car, not even bothering to close the doors as they could clearly see the 8:57 p.m. readout of their vehicle's calm, blue-lit digital clock. Rita fell, tripping over a small fallen limb that she did not see in the darkness, the damned motion sensor light from their front porch not coming on. Gerald stopped to help her up, and they continued to bolt for the front door, Rita with a bit of a limp from the gravel that was no doubt embedded in the skin of her knees and palms. Gerald had the keys ready, and they got into the front door in seconds. Though they'd never had this close of a call with their calling, they did both know what their routine was in putting the tribute out for the little ones. Rita placed a tray on the back porch, several feet from the sliding glass door. Gerald placed a tray on the front porch, even farther out. The clock began to chime with the 9 o'clock hour. They both leapt into their respective entryways, locked the doors, and backed toward one another, both sets of hands shaking uncontrollably. The bushes began to shake outside. The damned motion sensor light from their front porch still did not come on. The light from the back porch did not either. The lights in their house went dark. "Gerald?" Rita asked. The two turned to hold one another and heard voices, in tone from both outside and inside, mere feet away. "Store-bought?" Thank you for listening to The Brownie Children, an original short story, or if we're being honest, flash fiction story by me, Jared I. McGee. All music you hear comes from YouTube's free audio library. The tracks are being used under CC 01.0 Universal Public Domain Dedication licenses. I hope you've enjoyed the tales this week, and I hope you've enjoyed something a little closer to normal. As you all continue about your day, I hope that you will remember to love those around you, tell them that you do, and embrace this life as it is always stranger than fiction. See you in 2 weeks' time.